Welcome back to another episode of Knicks Morning Coffee. I'm Mr. King. Y'all know my partner Joe Cool.
What's the word?
Yeah, I know you see it.
Mm-hmm. Who gave you that?
And then on the other side, if you could zoom in a little bit, I don't know, but on the other side. So, yeah. So, one of our followers, remember the other, what was the last show or show before that, when I mentioned that I need a new cup. So, one of our followers who wanted to remain nameless, okay, sent me the cup, and they also sent me a bigger cup, but that's more of a soup cup.
Okay.
So I had to keep that one for myself too. But at some point,
so that one was mine then.
Technically, but technically came to me. Anyway, but as you know what, it'd be cool that at some point if we can get ours up, so that our followers can get a cup. You know.
You get that squared away.
Yeah. And then last week we wasn't here because you all right? How was you feeling last week?
Shoot, I don't know what tried to get me. I think it was that COVID 30.
Oh, shit, don't bring that back.
Had it for
Don't
30
jinx
minutes.
me. 30 minutes. All right, so before we get started, though, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. We're going to get our viewerships up. But what I want to talk about today is, I don't know, all of a sudden I got hot. Is it the coffee?
I said, yeah,
and then also, happy Labor Day to everybody. If you're going to go out and party and barbecue, do so responsibly. But what I want to talk about today is...
Happy birthday, Mom. Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget that either. Well, I did that already this morning before I walk. My question for today is, because to me, that's the most thing that's been on my mind lately and stuff that I've been seeing is, how valuable is Josh Hart?
Super valuable.
Yeah, so we're gonna touch on a couple of things regarding him, and then there was this one theory to start out with a week or so ago by Ian Bagley, that the Knicks may not use their 15th roster spot because of the versatility of Josh Hart and who they can plug in at the 4 at times. And then when I was looking at that, I said last year they kind of did it. Well, one time Coach admitted to when he had the small lineup, and then he said, who was at the 4? And he said, Josh. The Knicks went on like a little run in one of those games. And then I look at the Olympics where he's being used as a power forward. He's been for Ingram, for your boy Ingram. So that's just like crazy to me when you're thinking about what is Josh Hart, like 6'5", and you putting him in at power forward for that particular thing. Now, one of it could be the Brunson connection. You're trying to keep certain things there to have the 3 guys, the 3 Villanovas in the lineup. But also, according to a Knicks news podcast, and that's by way of Greg Schwartz from the Bleacher Report, if you watch Bleacher Report. Now, his thing, and we're going to go into this a little bit, his theory is Josh Hart should start over Quentin Grimes. Now, you remember a few weeks ago, our show was basically about the fight at the 2 position, but we said Quentin Grimes and DiVincenzo. So on the Bleacher Report, the guy was making some strong reasoning of why you could start Josh Hart, and the reason why it caught my eye because they kept clearing it up, and also on the Knicks news podcast, and they kept clearing it up first that everybody's going to kill me over saying that we lack shooting in the starting lineup. Because that's the first thing I was like, why? Why? So just to go over a couple of the quick points, the reason for that was that, one is that Hart has more chemistry with the starting unit. Okay, we know that that's true. Him and Brunson do got this second nature chemistry thing about him. And we know that him and Randall, he complements Randall in terms of Randall actually get more shots because Josh going to rebound. So we know Mitch is a good defensive rebounder, but we know that Josh Hart is too. So that kind of could lend itself some support. The other one was that Hart gets us off to a faster start. Now, we do typically start slow in a game if our shooting is not there. So you could argue, That also could be the case because he plays with speed. Even though he's not the primary ball handler, he still plays with a lot of speed. Another one is that RJ can move back to his natural position, which is the 2 guard, which they went on to elaborate about how RJ, although not the shooter, because now as a 2 guard, you get the ball more in a driving position. So your options are more. You have more options, and you get to make a quicker decision.
Right.
Where imposed as a 3, you get labeled the 3 and D, which we know RJ is not. All right, so that's an argument that could be fought. And then
I like how that sounds.
Yeah, and then what we lose in 3-point shooting, we gain in ball movement. So that's interesting to me on a couple of fronts. Now, one, I'm all for Quentin Grimes if he's going to fight DiVincenzo. But now and it was more, but in a nutshell, I'm all for that in that 5 or 6 minute increment if they're going to start it like that. Because I still look at, if you're going to start it like that, and all of them are capable of knocking down a shot. So if Julius, Brunson, Hart is capable of knocking down an open look. So, without getting into the argument, crazy part of it, because it's not a sexy lineup now. But it does kind of, to me, make a little bit of sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, if we're going to be moving the ball and we're going to be pushing it more, getting more out of RJ Barrett, because the ball is being pushed more. We know Brunson's going to push it, to a degree. And then even with Randall, that's where the problem going to lie, is that when the court is spread it, even though they're all capable of hitting the shot, will they be hitting the shot that way to start the game? Because you could be up 10 or down 10, in the first 3-4 minutes of the game with this lineup. So just, interesting fact.
And that second unit, with quickly DiVincenzo and Grimes coming out, somebody like a Randall can play with that second unit and have shooters around him. You know what I mean? Like, if we could look at it like that, that's like a team that, like LeBron usually wants, right?
Yeah, because changes would have to be made,
and kick it out to the shooter.
Yeah, because changes would have to be made because RJ was the second unit guy playing
and that still works.
Playing with them. So I think one way it lends to minutes, because when you take Grimes to the bench, for me, that limits IQ's shots. Because IQ got a lot of shots because you did have Hart in there and you did have RJ, and then Obi would get some open looks. So that kind of it kind of hinders IQ a little bit. But when you go back to Team USA, moving him into the starting lineup at the 4 over Brandon Ingram, now that, and he also led them in rebounding. But that also could be, not that he's so much better than Ingram, who Ingram really is a 3. It's just that one reason was it puts him in there with the Villanova guys, right, to have some chemistry when Steve Kerr made that move. And then the other thing I thought of was he looking for combinations too. Hart might fit better because of that second unit. One of the guys is always the odd man out, and he benched. Remember, right, against the game, he benched both of them, Brunson and Hart, about 13, 16 minutes in a game because Brunson was struggling, and he loved the way Halliburton and Reeves was scoring and moving the ball. And when asked after the game, why did he do a move like that, and he said that wasn't enough ball movement. Now, to me, that's interesting. There wasn't enough ball movement, and he wanted a quicker pace. So now, what is that telling us now about Brunson? That's just one game, and that being that Brunson's jumper was off that game, and you needed shooting because we also we lost the game. But when you start talking about ball, like you never want to have your point guard be associated with non-ball movement. So I just thought that was interesting, and then you throw in the factor of Josh Hart. Not really being a shooter, a guy who can knock down points. We don't got him on his team to shoot. So, but he'll move the ball. He'll push the ball. Right. But he said the other two gave us more shooting, and they got us up and running. So now that...
I think that Brunson's not Brunson if the ball movement got pick up the pace. And then we're going to be complaining he's not shooting enough or scoring enough. Even with Team USA. So he is that spark off the bench.
Yeah.
I don't think your starting point guard, he got to do one or the other. You can't have him do both.
Oh, okay,
I always said that. Like, you can't have the point guard trying to be AI and Chris Paul. It's not going to work. He got to be one or the other. you ain't going to get both. Like,
well, Chris Paul used to score 20 and still dish out 10,
but in
12.
the rotation of, I swing the ball to this person, I'll go run the play, come off a couple of screens, I come back. If the ball finds me back, you know what I mean? Now, at that time, I got probably 10 more seconds to try to figure it out, or 15 more seconds to figure out how to do this play, right?
Yeah.
So that's basically what Brunson does, like for our team. And then with Hart, he's going to do everything that other basketball players just ain't thinking about in the NBA. So, like, somebody like Ingram, we all said it, if he's like the primary ball handler and he's doing what he's supposed to do, he's like a LeBron-esque kind of player. But with Josh Hart, he's going to do everything else that players don't want to do.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to bang with the other players. They don't want to go grab the rebound, run for it, swing the ball. What we saying Brunson probably should be doing, you know, he gets the ball in his position. He's looking for the options.
Yeah.
He's passing off to the option. He's running the play.
Yeah.
So that's...
Yeah, because I was going at it with somebody at work just a week ago about the same thing with, they said, yeah, but y'all didn't pick up a superstar. But I said, if we don't, because it's not too late, but if we don't pick up a superstar, right, would still give us the edge. It was the same thing what I was trying to explain to the guy. If we don't get a superstar in this offseason, we still have an edge just by picking up DiVincenzo. And that's without the player, and it goes with the Villanova guys again. We know we're getting out of Randall. He's either going to be on or he's off, but he's basically going to give us, you know, the so-called star power that we have, right? So now with Brunson, we have the rising superstar in leadership, right? So we didn't have to pick nobody in that sense. Because just from him being on the Olympics and the stuff that he's learning, he gives us that extra element. And then Josh Hart, we know he brings the energy and the dynamic to the team. Because even though as good as Brunson took us last year, Hart came in and pushed us right over the edge to a degree. And then when you're talking about DiVincenzo being that third Villanova connection, just for the fact that the first two, you know, just what the first two was able to do. Imagine he come in and just duplicate what they did in his skill set. So now look how much better we got in a 48-minute game that we weren't before. And then I don't even want to speculate no more because that's just too far-fetched. You know, when you're thinking about Mikal Bridges over there in Brooklyn, when they asked him the other day about playing with Brunson and Hart, and he just went into, he would really love to do it, but he was being diplomatic. Right. But he, you know, he knows that, he says that actually playing with Brunson and Hart is like second nature, even though they only played 2 years together, all those practices. He said you just never lose that chemistry. But everybody know it because what they had to give up to get Mikal with KD and them, the Nets would never just let him walk out the door to the Knicks. And you can't gut your whole team, you know, for him. But it's just that whole thing that Villanova connection right there, without a star player, it almost gives us one. Because Brunson is going to go into all-star and into superstar status this year. Just from the respect factor that the people around the league is showing him. And then one of the best things that I do like about him being on the Olympics, meaning Brunson, is that I look at the coaches that are coaching him and what he's going to pick up. So just the little things. So you think about from Steve Kerr, right? The little nuances and tricks of the trade that Steph does. While they're practicing and stuff like that, you know Kerr is going to be giving him. Because, again, we in the East Coast, so we in a threat. We in a threat to Golden State Warriors. So he'll be giving him some of them nuggets. And then also you want to win. So you want to also make sure you win. So you'll give him some nuances that Steph do in the game that can only help him. So he'll come back with those things. And then from Spoelstra with Miami, it's like he'll get that. We know Brunson works hard, but he'll get that thing from Eric. Is that just when you think you're working hard enough, you could go another gear. You know, just when you think you're putting out too much, he'll give you more. And then more important for me is that he'll get from Spoelstra too the little attention to detail. You know, you get that from Tibbs, on the defensive side, but you'll get both of that from Spoelstra. Just being around him every day. Little things that other players don't even think about. You'll get that. And I know you mentioned that when you're talking about him with Ingram, but even being around these guys, the information you're going to walk away with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That alone is good for like 8 to 10 more wins. Just the knowledge of knowing that I don't really got to do this that hard because I've been setting this guy up all day just to do this in the fourth quarter. Setting him up. So you just learn little things. So I'm like, that Villanova connection, none of those guys are 6'8", 6'9", but what they bring collectively as a group is going to help us if we don't get a superstar. Right. We make up for it in intangibles and in big intangibles. So
I think what was good about the USA, it's just going to take maybe the pressure off the other guys. Like RJ, his confidence is probably going to be high coming out of playing in the Olympics. So hopefully RJ, this be the year he kind of breaks out and understands what he has to do.
Yeah, he gonna need to. But I know it was all about RJ when the tournament first started, but his coach even got on him the last game about his shooting. He went 1 for 8, and the coach was just saying, he got to do better. He got to knock that shot down. But again, right, with the confidence that RJ is gonna come back with, and two, when the other guy was making a comparison with the Bleach Report about the difference between having RJ back at the 2 in his natural position and the opportunities that he can have and where he's more comfortable. Also, Hart at the 2 also can make a lot of sense, knowing how to play with Brunson.
Yeah, I just don't know.
And knowing how to move the ball.
With these players today, I don't know what's the problem with just stepping in something. Because you probably can't hit your shot. Why don't you just step to the midi? They're going to give it to you.
Yeah, and he can get to that.
Think they're going to run you. They're going to run past them. So once you go to make that move forward, just shoot the midi. I don't know why that's an issue. I know you're going to hit that.
Yeah. And RJ would have no problem getting to that. But that mid jumper for RJ, that would be a real adjustment of all the players that we got. Because he drives so strong to his left. For him, that, not to say he can't do it, but that, to me, it would be a struggle for RJ to really learn how to pull up that with a sweet shot. Because everything is like hard to the basket or it's the long ball.
But you remember I was telling you, that's the only thing I didn't like when I was watching these games is he's getting to the basket, but it's not as at will at this point in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, at some point, you should have realized that you got to be stronger than everybody because you already kind of are. So why don't you just take that to the next gear so you could really elevate your game? Who cares if you don't know how to shoot? That don't matter if you can run right past them.
Yeah.
I mean? And you do hit your shot once in the blue to keep them honest. But if you're doing what you're supposed to do, they worry. Now your shot is dead. I don't know. Like, the game that he do good, that's what happens.
Yeah, and to me, the shot can't be our Achilles heel. It can't be. But one other thing I want to find out, like, what's going on with Evan Fournier and his situation, because Evan Fournier still want to be traded, and only because of lack of playing time. And then I saw one thing with a Sacramento trade with Harrison Barnes. Now, I don't know why Sacramento would want to tinker what they got going on, because they're up and coming. But I guess they feel that this young boy they got, they could part with Harrison Barnes. And then the hypothetical, honestly, I don't know if this was hypothetical or this one was trade, because I've seen it several times, that we would get Harrison Barnes, who I wouldn't mind having, for Fournier and a first round pick. So our first round picks, they are our assets, because we're riding with Randall and Brunson. If we don't get other stars, then we should hold on to our first round picks, because when that time come to an end, and instead of have to going into a total rebuild, there either some great people coming out in the draft, or we get to package them off. But just to give them away little by little is not necessary, And then the other one was Detroit Pistons with Bojan Bogdanovic for Fournier in 2 second rounds. Now, I do that in a heartbeat. I do that in without even thinking about it, because I've been wanting that guy for the past 4 years. A real stretch four that can come in and just knock down the shots, wherever he's at on the court. And he's a bona fide shooter. So if I can get him for that, I'll take him for that.
I still, in my heart of hearts, feel like for Fournier, we can just, get what we get out of him. But I'm still not opposed to how we got Stoudemire that works for the Knicks organization. Why you just can't bring in, I know he's my favorite player, but Melo to come help Randle. Just work. Melo don't got to play at this point. You know what I mean? He could just be there for insurance.
Well, why don't you just hire him as a consultant then?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, get him on the benches to sit there. Like, these guys respect him.
No, he might not even do that with the Knicks.
He might not, but is it worth a shot? I would ask, you know what I mean, just to get him on the roster for the veteran minimum. You got Fournier out of here, and if you do have to just play him, I'm pretty sure at this point that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? He still wants to kind of play ball. I think he did. He actually did retire, but just get him on there.
I mean, it's
for at least one more year, and he can help train Randle. I think Randle probably needs some of that Melo training.
I mean, all
to get
that
him over the hump.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, because Randall's thing is, I mean, you had to bring Melo in, period. But we don't have enough guys to bring in one for that though. That play that way.
Mm.
It's not like Toppin is still there. Obi ain't there no more. Mm. Like just for Randall, I don't know if that's even worth it.
No.
But if you got 2 or 3 guys for Melo to work with, then that would be,
I mean, I'm
something
pretty sure,
different.
Didn't we just bring in another forward kind of guy?
Yeah.
Somebody over, he's playing in like the Olympics too. He's like killing.
Well, they the one that beat us. It's funny that the 3 guys, remember Iggy? Mm-hmm. Iggy was on that team. Then the other dude that I like, we had a few years ago.
I'm talking about small forward. That we just
guy we just got.
Okay,
he's on that team.
He's on that team?
Yeah, and all 3 of them did good that beat us the other day. All 3 of those guys was heavy contributors on that team.
Wow, that's crazy.
That gave us a loss. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, but the one we got now, it's all experience. Cause even a lot of things with the foreigners doing the Olympics, it don't matter when they get into the league because a lot of them don't play the same way. Mm. So we got a guy like that on the bench, and I actually think he's pretty good. He can play several of our positions, but those positions that he played, we got a lot of people that already do it. Mm. So the Knicks, they got that 2 guard spot, that 2 and that 3 guard position. I think that's going to be some sort of a battle, a real battle in training camp. We know where 3 of them is going off the bat, but that 2 and that 3, depending on what we bring in, that's going to be heavy. But just the thought that the Knicks may not use that 15 spot tells you either somebody may be getting bought out or somebody's requesting to get out of a contract before the season starts. Because why wouldn't you just fill it and then just let somebody go? So a lot of interesting things are going to be happening, with the Knicks. And the good thing about the Knicks in the summer and the NBA as a whole, Knick news never die. There's always something to talk about. But it's just now starting to get a little bit more interesting. And it seems like to me, even though like last year, it's not as wide open as it was last year. That's why I thought we should just do some things to go for it. But another small move somewhere of a consistent player, especially a consistent player that can shoot and defend, puts us that much closer to still fight for, because you finishing, without counting that bad year last year, you basically finished in 4th and 5th in 2 years you thought last year. So that means we on the brink of something, regardless of what people might to believe, and our roster's not sexy enough for people to get overly excited about. But in a day-to-day game, one game at a time, we could beat anybody.
Right. We
just need that other real consistent outside, and it might be DiVincenzo, for all we know. And it might be an elevation of Quentin Grimes. Like, so the pieces are there, but it's not enough there for people to pick you to be there. But they're there. All right, so if you haven't so far, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And as things come up, we'll hope to see y'all more in the future. Until next time, peace.
Peace.